Whether it's social media, TV and movies, or video games, media can start to blur the lines between fantasy and reality a little bit. And sometimes that's more obvious, but it can be really dangerous, especially where our relationships with other people are concerned. And we can portray false perceptions, and we can also perceive things falsely that other people portray to us, and that's when it can become dangerous and when it can start to affect how we interact with the people that we care about. So I'd like to introduce this by asking a question. Legs or hot dogs? Now, there are several pictures like this floating around the internet, and you really can't tell if those are someone's legs or if they're hot dogs right under the camera. And I have found that people who have seen pictures like this on the internet before are likely to believe that they're hot dogs, but people who haven't seen pictures like this don't even consider hot dogs as a possibility, and they just go right to legs. So our experiences really help shape our perceptions and what we take away from media. I don't know what the answer is for this specific picture, but the principle that I'm trying to illustrate here is that the lines can become blurred, and even though this is a very inconsequential example, this principle can be true for things that are much more serious. So let's look at a primary example of a fairy tale love story. This is Cinderella and her Prince Charming, of course, and just to kind of recap their storyline, Cinderella dresses up in some fancy clothes, goes to the ball. Her and the prince dance for about an hour, and then she has to run off at midnight to meet her curfew that the fairy godmother placed on her. And in her haste, she loses her shoe. And keep in mind that her and the prince have fallen in love already, and so the prince is devastated and uses her shoe to track her down. And he finally does, and then they get married. And that's all we see in the movie. What we don't see is their awkward DTR conversations, their discussions about their finances, Prince Charming meeting the horrible stepmother. All of those things that are a part of real life relationships we didn't even get to see, and yet they're portrayed as the perfect couple. And so if our relationships have those real elements, it's easy to think that there's something wrong with them, but actually they're not. And those are really healthy components to successful relationships. So even though they're not as glamorous and wonderful to think about, they're real, and that's what it takes to make real relationships work. This is a quote from Jonathan Franzen in an article that he wrote for the New York Times. Let me suggest that the world of techno-consumerism is therefore troubled by real love, and that it has no choice but to trouble love in return. Love exposes the lie. So we have this world that media has created for us, and then we have real love, and they're in conflict with each other. So as we function in this society, with these two entities competing, they really do conflict each other. Real love exposes the lie that's in that false reality, and therein exposes the truth that we're not perfect, and no relationships are. So this is Prank versus Prank. This is Jesse Williams and Jennifer Smith, and they were a couple who was dated seriously, and in 2007 they started a YouTube channel that became really successful, and today they have 19.7 million subscribers, and they would make videos of them playing pranks on each other. About a year ago, they actually split up, and they put a lot of the failure of their relationship on their success in the media. And they said that their relationship kind of became a job or it felt like a job, because how people perceived them was what they started to measure their relationship off of. And it's important to to note that when they first started becoming successful, they actually credited their YouTube channel to strengthening their relationship because it gave them something to work on together. And so media can and does have a lot of really good and strong attributes that can strengthen our relationships, but you have to know where the line is and continue to draw that line between fantasy and reality. But it doesn't apply to just romantic relationships. This is Michael Bublé and his family. And in 2016, his son Noah, who's now 5, was diagnosed with liver cancer. And so Michael Bublé and his wife really kind of put their careers on hold, and Michael Bublé stepped out of the industry for a while and put a pause on his music career. And just in the last month, his son is doing a lot better now. And so in the last month, Michael Bublé did an interview and talked about how his priorities changed during those few years that he took a break from the spotlight. And he says that his priorities really changed, and he started to realize that the relationships with his family is what makes him successful and what defines him, and not critic ratings or ticket sales or social media popularity or things like that. And so he kind of talked about retiring a little bit, but he has decided to stay in the industry. But he says that it's going to be a lot different, and he's going to feel a lot different. And he gets very emotional when he's talking about it. So it really can affect all of our relationships with anyone that we care about. And it's important to keep that in mind. So just in closing, another quote from Jonathan Franzen: "Love is about bottomless empathy, born out of the heart's revelation that another person is every bit as real as you are." And I just want to tie that in to John 15:12. "This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you." Christ really loves us, and if he was on earth today, I think he would like our posts and comment on them occasionally, but he would do so much more for us. He would serve us and strengthen our relationship in a real and loving way. And so, as we use media, I hope that we can keep that in mind and learn how to draw the line between fantasy and reality, so that our relationships with others can be real and loving and strong. Thank you.